Today we're going to start lying down on our backs. You might start to notice how much energy you have or don't have. And then as you're ready, maybe you do take a really deep stretch, like make an X with your body, stretch your arms out, stretch your legs out, and just stretch as it feels good. Might circle your arms and your wrists and your ankles a few times. And once you've stretched out, you might try curling yourself up into a little ball. Making yourself really small. And then alternating between making these big X's, stretching your limbs out, maybe wiggling your digits and circling your wrists and ankles, and then becoming small, curling up into a ball. And see if you can make this feel good. Like sometimes in the morning when we stretch, it feels really good. Maybe that's possible if you are trying this. Maybe it's not. And if so, no judgment. And the next time you find yourself curled up into a little ball, if you are trying this, and if you're not, you can get a little smaller. Extend one of your legs down onto the mat. Maybe extend your left leg down onto the mat. And bring your hands around your right knee. You can interlace your hands if you want, or you can just hold them there. And see what it's like to really stretch that lower leg down and out. And either using your hand or just using the strength of your low body, pull your right knee in towards your body. So you're kind of, think about maybe squeezing your knees away from each other. One's going down, one's going up.
No.
And then as you're ready, pull your other knee in. So you've got both knees in now. And then extend your right leg down away from your body. And try that same action of pulling your knees away from each other. So one's moving down, one's moving up, or maybe not moving, but energetically pressing away from each other. And when you're ready, switch sides. So your right knee comes in, left goes down. And this time you can do exactly what we were doing, what we've been doing. You might also consider maybe lifting your head and your shoulders up off your mat as you're doing this. And if you try that, notice, does that work for you? If so, you can keep doing it. If no, not so much, you don't have to do it. But just notice whatever you're feeling. And then when you're ready, you can release that and switch sides. And again, make sure you're choosing based on what you're feeling. So if this lifting your head and neck and shoulders up, doesn't feel so much like it's working for you, you can skip that part. Just really focus on that, drawing your knees away from each other. And then when you're ready, you can release that and try it a few times on both sides. So move at your own pace. And if I was moving more quickly than you like, you can move slower. If I was moving more slowly than you like, you can move quicker. Take your time evening yourself up. So if you have another side with that you need to do, go ahead and finish up on that side. And when you're ready, bring both feet down onto the floor. So your knees are pointing up in the air. Make sure that your legs are about parallel to each other and your feet are pretty much under your knees. And then slowly roll your spine up into bridge, stopping when you become pretty much a straight line from your shoulders to your knees. And pause here in bridge. Really press down through your big toe mounds and pinky toe mounds and heels. And take a few long, slow breaths here. You might notice if you're creating tension around your eyes, somewhere in your jaw, maybe your neck and shoulders. And then as you're ready, slowly roll your spine down. Think about maybe dropping one vertebra at a time, if you can imagine that. And when you get down to the bottom, you might take a deep breath before then trying it again, maybe rolling up just as slowly as you rolled down. And same thing at the top. Maybe you take a few long, slow breaths, noticing if there are places where you're holding tension that you might not need to. And then checking in places like your big toe mounds, pinky toe mounds, and heel, and seeing about pressing down there, noticing if that changes what you're feeling. And then slowly roll back down. And once you get to the bottom, take a deep breath, maybe sigh it out, before then slowly rolling back up. And as you're holding bridge, if you choose to hold bridge, you might take a moment to notice, is there anything that you enjoy about being here in this posture? It's okay if the answer is no. And when you're ready, slowly, slowly, slowly roll yourself back down. And once you get to the bottom, if you want to hug your knees in towards your chest, you could do that. Maybe you rock from side to side a little bit. And then if you have your knees in towards your chest, keep your right knee in and extend your left leg down onto your mat. Bring your left hand to your right knee. Extend your right arm out to the side. And keeping your shoulders on the ground, twist your right knee over towards the left, allowing your right hip to come up off the floor. So it doesn't matter how far you twist. You're just twisting. And you can do anything you want with your head. Maybe you turn your head so you look over your right shoulder if that works for your neck. When you're ready, unwind, come back to center, draw both knees in, and this time, bring your right leg down onto the floor. Keep your right hand on your left knee. Extend your left arm out to the side and keeping both shoulders down. Twist your knee over to the right, allowing your left hip to come up. Again, whatever you want to do with your head, maybe you look over your left shoulder this time. As you're ready, come back to center. Bring both feet down to the floor. Widen your feet out towards the side and then drop your knees to the left and then to the right. And just try a few windshield wipers at your own pace. If you want to hold them and do it slowly, that's fine. If you want to do it more quickly, that's fine. Just determine for yourself what pace feels right. Take your time finishing up with your windshield wipers and coming up to tabletop. So however you want to get there, maybe you roll yourself up to seated and then flip yourself over, or maybe you have another way of coming into tabletop. And you can face whatever makes sense for you, whatever direction makes sense for you. And I'm going to face you so you can see what I'm doing. Once you're in tabletop, you might try a few cat-cows, maybe some spinal movement just as it feels right for you. So rounding and arching through your back, maybe finding a little lateral movement too. And use the next minute or so to really try these movements out and make them work for you. So sometimes when we start to check in with our backs, And our necks, we can feel all kinds of things. Just notice whatever is there for you. You might also check in with your knees and see that your knees are comfortable. And if you need to place some kind of cushion under your knees, you can do that. As you're ready, come back to center and extend your right leg out to the side. Place that foot on the floor and then walk your hands back and lift your body up. So you'll be grounding down to your left knee and your right leg will be extended out to the side, that foot on the ground. Just find a position that is comfortable and feels sustainable to you. And then once you're upright, lift your left arm up towards the ceiling. And it doesn't have to go straight up if that feels really wrong in your shoulder. You can do it at whatever trajectory works right for you. The aim here is to stretch up long through your outer body. And then maybe you lean over towards that right leg, keeping your chest open to the front, looking for a stretch through that outer body here. So you're grounding down through your knee, lifting up through your body. And as you're here in gait, notice what it feels like. Notice if you do feel that stretch. And if you do, maybe every time you inhale, you can notice it becoming a little bit deeper. And if you find that gate pose is super uncomfortable for you, another way to do this would be in tabletop, just doing that kind of lateral movement from side to side. If you're up in gate, leaning, come back to center, drop your arm down. Bring your body down, place your hands on the floor, and draw your right leg in. Extend your left leg out to the side. Find your stability here, and then walk your hands back and lift your body up again. We'll try the same thing on the opposite side. So maybe you stretch your right arm up and lean over. Maybe you keep your right arm down and lean. You can place it on your hip, or you might have it in cactus arm, sort of goalpost shape here. Or it could be out to the front, whatever feels right. So you're in a version of a side stretch here, parsvakonasana, gate pose, or maybe you choose to stay down on hands and knees and do it that way. And then as you're ready, if you're leaning, come back to center. You can drop your limbs down and make your way into a standing position. So maybe you draw your outer leg in, walk your hands back and press yourself up, or whatever feels right. Then once you find yourself in a standing position, take a moment in mountain. So maybe roll your shoulders back, press down through your feet, lift your head, And take a few deep breaths here in Tadasana. And then as you're ready, bring all of your weight into your right leg. Hover your left foot. And then try some slow motion side to side walking. So you'll bring that left foot out and place it down without putting weight on it, and then slowly shift your weight. And once all your weight is in that stepping leg, you'll do the same thing. Hover your back leg, pull that in, and then slowly shift the weight. And traverse your mat like that, or you can walk around the room like this. And as you're doing this, you might notice if it's creating tension in other parts of your body. So maybe you're scrunching up your eyebrows. I tend to do that. Maybe you're clenching your jaw, something else I tend to do. Would it be possible to give those places in your body permission to relax, even as your lower body and your core are creating all this stability and strength? And when you're ready, you can switch directions. And you can continue switching back and forth, moving in one direction and the other. Or another thing that you might consider trying here would be to pause for a moment, bring all of your weight into your right leg, hover your left leg, and you might want to have a place to put your hand for balance if needed here. But then lift your left knee up and bring your right hand to your left knee, possibly here, creating a little bit of tension. Balance for a moment. And these can all be little steps that you try or don't try. But another thing you might consider trying would be, once you've tried this, maybe you then extend those limbs away from each other in this sort of 70s dance move. I'm not sure. I feel like a Bee Gee here. But keeping all of your weight in your grounded leg, extending your left leg out with the counterbalance of your right arm, and then maybe coming back and trying that a few times. So is there some fun to be had here? I mean, I think so. I was doing this week and kind of laughing at myself, you know, staying alive and Saturday night fever and all that. But it is a really, I think, potentially useful, challenging, balancing movement. And I like to point my finger because that makes me giggle. So, and if you're trying this, you might really notice that standing leg gets a lot of work in. And once, if you're trying this, once you've tried it and you're like, hey, I can really feel that, feel free to shake that standing leg out. And whenever you're ready, if you're trying it, you might move to the second side and give that a shot. And again, I think this like really slow motion movement is pretty useful in terms of we really get to know where our balance is here. Like, where is our center of gravity? Where is all our weight? And if there's any, flourish or extra dancey move or fun move you want to add here, feel free to add that if you find it fun or useful. And once you've given it a shot on both sides, if you're trying it, maybe take a moment to really shake out both legs. You might also just kind of ground your feet and shake everything for a moment. Make sure you're taking some deep breaths. You might try horse lips if you like horse lips. And whenever you feel like you're ready, you can try anything we've already tried, as always. And one thing you might consider trying would be coming to the middle of your mat, taking a wide stance. I was cold, so I have socks and sweatshirts on. But taking what for you feels like a wide stance that is maintainable and comfortable. Oh, and if you have blocks, this might be a great place to grab your blocks and just set them in front of you in case you decide you want to use them. So once you're in your wide-legged stance, really ground down through your feet and lift up tall through your body, engage through your lower body, and then hinging from your hips, start to fold forward. Maybe you come halfway down and either place your hands or fingertips on your blocks. Maybe you place them on the floor and start to look for a stretch here. So you don't have to force anything, but see if you feel a stretch anywhere, maybe in the backs of your legs, maybe through your inner thighs. And you could lean your hips a little bit to one side and a little bit to the other side if that feels useful. Maybe you bend one knee a little and lean towards that side. And then bend your other knee, straighten your once bent leg and lean towards your newly bent knee. Just try finding a little bit of movement here in parsvakonasana. And once you feel like that is complete, come back to center, ground through your legs, and begin to lift your body up. So using your stability, come all the way up to standing. And once you're standing, turn your toes out at some sort of angle so that your heels are angled in a little and your toes are angled out to the degree that it feels comfortable and stable in your body. And then engage through your lower core and begin to soften through your knees and start to bend through your knees and come down only so far as it feels like it works for you. And then come up and try moving in and out of this goddess pose. So you might tuck your tail a little and aim to keep your body pretty upright. And you don't have to go any deeper than feels comfortable and sustainable for you. Your arms can be wherever feels right. You might keep them at your hips. You might place them at your thighs. You might lift your arms up into cactus arms And maybe as you come up, you stretch them up to some degree and bring them back down as you're lowering down. And as you're moving in this goddess pose or utkata konasana, you might try to notice like what is working and what is stretching. And sometimes what is working is also stretching, which can be an interesting sensation. And if you would like an extra challenge here, one thing you might try doing would be to close one eye or to close both eyes, but only if you feel stable doing so, because this actually does require balance to stay upright, in particular as we're moving. So if that doesn't feel like an appropriate challenge, it could be a great one to skip. And if you'd like, you could come down into goddess and hold it for a moment, or you could keep moving, whatever feels best to you. Make sure you're breathing with some ease if possible. And then if you would like to try something else, you might straighten your legs, turn your left heel out so that that foot is pointing pretty much forward, maybe with the toes angled in a little, and turn your right toes so that they're facing towards the short edge of your mat, and then bend through your right knee. Maybe extend your arms out and come into warrior two on this side. So as you're in warrior, you could stay in warrior, or you might try what we were doing with goddess, where you straighten your knee and then bend back into warrior, maybe a couple of times. If you enjoy holding warrior, you could hold warrior. And if you would like to try something else, you might bring your right arm down to rest on your leg, making sure to keep some space here so you're not crunching your shoulder up towards your ear, maybe extending your upper arm up, maybe bringing it alongside your ear, but coming into a version of side angle if you like stationary poses that require some balance, some effort, some stretch. But you might also be here in warrior two, maybe moving in and out of warrior two, which is challenging and a little more dynamic. So lots of options. And as you're ready, take your time finishing up on that side and coming back to center. And then reversing your feet so that your right leg, those toes are either facing forward or angled a little in, and your left toes are facing the short end of your mat. So find what's comfortable for you, and then maybe start to bend through that left knee. Maybe extend your arms out. And you might try moving, you might try holding. And if you enjoyed side angle as an option on the other side, you might try it here, and that would be with your knee bent, bringing your forearm down to reach your thigh above your knee. Your other hand could be resting on your hip, stretching up, or it could be up alongside your ear. So lots of options. You could be anywhere doing anything at this point. Maybe you hate all these options and you're like, I'm going to do a bunch of sun salutations. And that's cool too. Just make sure whatever options you're choosing feel useful and like your body will thank you later. Take your time finishing up on that side. And when you're ready, come to center. And then decide how you're going to come out of this wide-legged stand. So you could toe heel your feet in, you could hop or step things in, but come back into what for you feels like a comfortable stance. And find mountain pose. So roll your shoulders back, lift through your chest, lift up to the crown of your head, ground down through your feet. And if you like horse lips, try horse lips. So deep inhale. I love horse lips. And then as you're ready, make your way down onto your mat. So we have about 5 minutes left, and you can head right into Shavasana, and you can take any kind of pose for Shavasana, just deciding what's going to feel comfortable and restful for you. And if you like Supta Baddha Konasana, which is a reclined position where you're lying on your back and the soles of your feet are pressed together, knees moving out to the side, maybe something supporting your knees like blocks or pillows, you might consider taking that as a resting pose. Another one I like is constructive rest, feet on the floor, knees together, pointing up. But whatever feels right to you. And if you want to close your eyes, you can close your eyes. You might try doing a little body scan and just notice the parts of you that feel like they did some work today. Maybe give those parts of you some enthusiastic appreciation, some restful, enthusiastic appreciation. If your mind is wandering, bring yourself back into the present. You might deepen your breath here. And if you feel like staying in Shavasana, you can stay resting. If you want to transition out, you might start bringing a little bit of movement in, wiggling your fingers and your toes, a little bit of stretching. And you decide if you'd like to stay where you are, if you want to transition into seated. Maybe you want to keep your eyes closed. Maybe you want to open them up. Or maybe they were already open, which is great too. Wherever you are, take a moment to find a reason to appreciate yourself. And a moment to acknowledge yoga as an ancient practice originating in ancient India thousands of years ago. And just some acknowledgement that it was a practice that colonization tried to wipe out. But luckily, they failed. And many brave people kept it alive and were so willing to share it with us. And thanks for practicing with me today.